Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Cookie Monster ProForgeRacing bringing you my number 6 spot in the Halo 3 Sandbox double-wide top 10 forgers countdown. And this person is SpEcTaCuLaR, and this first map here is SpEcTac Sundown, which is a good map and it's very smooth. It just doesn't, it's not quite as good as the rest of his maps. But SpEcTaCuLaR, back with the best of Halo 3 voting on HaloTrack's website. He was voted the greatest racetrack forger of all time by far. The only person who stood a chance in the voting was SMM 2010, and but other than that, like, he had like 56 votes and SMM had like 38, and the closest after that was like 12. So it was just incredible. SpEcTaCuLaR was considered the best by far, and I think overall, yeah, he was one of the best, but I think his sandbox maps weren't quite as good. But people definitely loved his non-sandbox maps because he was able to make really good maps on maps like, you know, Foundry and even like Ghost Town and stuff like that. So that was incredible. But this next map here is called Alcione, and this map's so smooth. It's just it's very smooth. It's just, it doesn't elevate very much. It's really like flat, like very low down to the ground. That's the only reason I didn't like this map quite as much, because it didn't have like those elevated spirals and banked waves and stuff quite as much. But it was still definitely a great map. And I think his first few maps in this review are pretty good, but his last two maps are just incredible. But this next one's called Sandra Leon, and Sandra Leon is a great map as well. This one is in the Crypt, and there weren't a whole lot of great double-wide maps in the Crypt. I made two myself. I made CM, which stood for Cookie Monster, Furiosity, and then Finale, which was the one that got featured on Laid Back Gaming, and I was so proud of that. But yeah, this is just an incredible Crypt map. Crypt maps were really hard to make because it was just so tight, like the quarters. I love that part right there, that tunnel at the end, and then this part's really cool. It's just like a tiny little hill coming off the ground and going back to the ground. I loved that reconnection part. This next map is called SpEcTac Velocity, and this is a tournament track he made, and I never understood what tournament tracks were back when, you know, I used to just download maps. So I was like, wait, he's able to make maps like Alcione and Sandra Leon, but then he makes, you know, something crappy like this with square turns. But I didn't understand what tournament maps were. This is actually a really cool tournament track, especially for Halo 3, but I just didn't understand what they were back then, and I only appreciated double wides. No terrain tracks, supercross, tournament, or any other kind of racetrack aesthetic. I just liked double wides because I liked the way they looked from an overview. And I really only liked Sandbox racetracks too, so I was really picky. I liked some roller coasters on Sandbox, but other than some roller coasters and all double wides, and that's it. But this map here he made with Lil Kyle 15, and this one's called Desert Wave. I believe Lil Kyle probably made mostly the terrain part, unless they both made the double wide, I'm not sure. SpEcTaCuLaR is definitely a much better forger than Lil Kyle 15, and a much better double wide forger. Lil Kyle did make a map called Intrepid, which was pretty good though. And this is a great map though. It's got a lot of, you know, really smooth turns and stuff like that, as well as a big terrain part on the bottom. And terrain tracks were actually pretty popular back in Halo 3, not so much in Halo Reach though. Unfortunately, because Halo Reach's terrain is so much better even than Halo 3, just like, it's like more realistic. But this next map is Mon 2, and this is one of his two maps that I think are just some of the, I think both this map and his next map in the review are just some of the greatest maps in Halo 3's Sandbox, because they're both just so incredible. This map is just so smooth. It's got kind of, it's supposed to have an Egyptian theme to it. You can't really tell, but it does have some cool looking scenery at the beginning of the map. But it's just so perfectly smooth, and it looks nice too, because some maps are smooth but they don't look that great from an overview. But it's got this giant hill and perfect spirals and turns, and it ends perfectly. It's just an incredible map. It's just absolutely amazing. I love Mon 2, as well as this last map, which is called Indian Sunset, that he made with Dream 76, Xtreme 76X. Usually when maps say that they were made with Dream, Dream just makes the scenery. However, scenery was not big back in Halo 3, and not a lot of people made it, and so that's why I think they used to get Dream to make it for them, like SMM and Slick on Cape Canaveral and SpEcTaCuLaR on this map. But this map is just so incredible. This is his last double-wide sandbox map he ever made, and I think it's just absolutely amazing. It's so perfectly smooth. The reconnection isn't the best, but it does reconnect pretty well, and it has this perfect spiral at the end. I love this map, and Dream made some really cool scenery on it. So, yeah, SpEcTaCuLaR was an incredible forger, considered the best in Halo 3, but thank you guys very much for watching.